Welcome back. Well, Ottawa in the Know, you need to be in the know. And our next guest, David Hollingsworth, with all of our travel plans in place for March break. Hollingsworth and Associates are here, and they're dedicated to keeping Ottawa residents in the know and safe, whether you're at home or abroad. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thank you. You have so many practical tips that, honestly, we could do an hour show with David, because I don't think I knew a lot of them, and I feel like I was in the know.
Yeah. True enough. I mean, you learn these things as you go.
Yes.
And we know it's spring, and people are getting ready for their March break trips and things like that. And obviously, fun in the sun is the goal. But sometimes we get calls when people come back from these trips having, suffered injuries when they're out of the country. So
yeah.
What do we do?
So when you are getting insurance, that's the first thing you should be making sure that you have.
Right. So you're going to have, you should buy travel insurance anywhere you go. And typically that travel insurance will cover things like if you need ambulance care, or, even if you need to be, returned to Canada by flight or by ambulance or something like that. That's kind of the regular travel insurance that you might have. But and that's great, and we can help with that. But sometimes what happens if somebody's actually injured on a resort and it's something a little bit more substantial, and let's say they're in Dominican Republic or Mexico, they'll call us, and what can we do, they'll ask.
Yeah. And so you're saying there's sort of different things you need to do in different places around the world.
Yeah, well, the first thing that people call, if they're calling an Ontario lawyer who's licensed to practice in Ontario, the question is, can you start a lawsuit on behalf of somebody who was injured in another country in Ontario? And so the Supreme Court of Canada has been asked that question, and they came up with the very definitive answer of it depends. And so, and that's where the lawyers come in. And so, let's say you're injured in Mexico, and you come and you want to bring an action in Ontario. Is there a substantial connection to Ontario? So is it a tour operating group that is from Ontario, or they operate in Ontario, or is there some substantial connection to Ontario that would permit you to start the claim? And so that's step one, and maybe you can, maybe you can't. Otherwise, you have to deal with a Mexican lawyer. But another sort of funky piece of the law is that there's a Latin term called lex loci delicti commissi.
Okay, I'm not going to repeat that 5 times, but it means...
Guess what it means?
Yeah.
It means that the law of the land where the injury occurred is the law that applies if you're going to bring an action in Ontario.
Okay.
So you would have to get like a Dominican lawyer to advise you, or even come up and help you with the law, and then you apply the Dominican law, let's say, or Mexican law in an Ontario courtroom. And it's really important for a few reasons. And one of the key ones that we run into is a limitation period. So, for example, like a limitation period is once something's happened, the amount of time you have to bring a lawsuit. After that time, your opportunity's expired. Okay,
so before you go on, everybody at home, make sure you have all of David's information, because he will help you, because you're right, it is a time limitation, and a lot of people are like, we want to just enjoy the rest of our vacation and head home. So definitely call you first.
Yeah, call me, but I mean, usually, like when I say limitation, in Ontario, the limitation period is 2 years, but in the Dominican Republic, it's 6 months.
Yeah.
So even if you contact a lawyer, the lawyer may not be aware. They may think that they've got a little bit of time when they don't. And so that's an example of how the law of the land where the injury occurred applies in Ontario. And there are other things, like some countries have where if you're intoxicated when you're injured, you don't have a right to sue. Like there are laws that would be different that you're going to want to be familiar with.
Yeah, just be in the know with that.
Yeah. And even, for those folks who are still traveling to the U.S., different things apply as well. For example, if you're in a car accident down there, your automobile insurance from Ontario will cover you down in the States.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, and in the U.S., they don't typically have as much insurance as we do. So if somebody else is at fault and they're uninsured, your insurance company will cover you for what they would have to pay you if you're in the States in a car accident.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so I guess the upshot is that if you do suffer an injury and you might be entitled to some compensation and it's not in Canada, it's still worth making a call.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have now traveled the world, and I'm feeling more confident. March break at home, there's a lot of, you're very good about giving safety tips and making sure people are a bit more preventative. What would you say to people about having injuries at home, especially watching out whether it's walking on ice? There's a lot of conversation about that.
Yeah, well, there certainly is. And I mean, with the weather you have this time of year, there's the freeze, thaw. Probably one of the most crucial things for people to know is that if you slip and fall and injure yourself on city property, you've only got 10 days to put the city on a written notice of a possible claim. And if you don't, there's a chance that they will be able to argue that you can't advance the claim at all. So it's a really tight window.
Okay.
Another key thing to be aware of if you do slip and fall on ice, using that example, if you can, I mean, if you're lying there with a broken ankle, it's one thing, but if you can possibly take a photograph of the hazard, because with the changing weather and you have to prove that there is a hazard, you know, ideally you would capture the moment and you can X mark the spot on a photograph, and that those are some pretty helpful things, sometimes not practical in the circumstances, but very helpful.
Yeah, definitely, and having people help you in this situation when it happens.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And then, of course, give us a call, and we're happy to help you out and get you what you're entitled to.
Yeah, and when you have people calling you, which you do quite a bit, is there a common sort of thread of concern that people wish they had known before they had called you? Whether
well, certainly the time. Those two things I mentioned are among the most important ones. But the other thing is, you know, seeking medical attention. Because, you know, a lot of people are just inclined to, unless they absolutely have to go to the hospital, kind of dust themselves off, and then it's like several days later when they finally start accepting or admitting to themselves, okay, this is more than just a bruise. Get the medical attention right away. It's better to go in and rule out, you know, more serious injuries than you may think you have than it is to wait too long. And so I would just recommend doing that and having your doctor or your nurse practitioner, whoever it is that's helping you out, involved early enough on. And the hope is that you'll never have to call them again. But if you do, at least you've sort of set the stage and you've set yourself up to get the care you need.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Okay, what are you looking forward to in the spring?
Well, I'm looking forward to maybe a little bit of sun, maybe a little bit of skiing, and yeah, I don't know, golf soon.
Okay, he's just as busy as we are, but he's never too busy to pick up the phone for you. Thank you so much, Dave.
Thanks for having me.
And we're up next with an organization that you are going to want to be part of. Stay tuned.